Sponsored by Black Magic Design, the world's highest quality products for the feature film, post and broadcast industries. blackmagicdesign.com. And by JMR Rentals, jmrny.com.
The Bikeriders. This is a lot of fun. To be clear, this is not a prestige film. I mean, you could have probably maybe competed for a couple of technicals like the cinematography and the editing, and maybe backdoor performance nominations for Tom Hardy and Jodie Comer. But really, this is just a fun, character-driven adventure film, kind of in the vein of Rebel Without a Cause and Easy Rider. It even directly references Marlon Brando in The Wild One. It's a movie about a motorcycle gang. I mean, it's loosely based on this book by a guy named Danny Lyne, who's a political activist and a photojournalist. Back in the 60s and 70s, he was embedded with the Chicago branch of, I believe, the Outlaws Motorcycle Club. And he did these interviews with both the bikers and their wives to kind of like get a sense of what biker culture really was back in the anti-establishment 60s. And it's those kind of interviews that inspire the film. Danny Lyne here is played by Mike Faist, who was Riff in the West Side Story remake. One of the best things about that movie that I kind of like, but not really. He was absolutely great. And then, of course, like I said, you have Tom Hardy as Johnny. He's the leader of what they call the Vandals in here. You know, names are changed to protect the innocent. Jodie Comer plays Kathy, who's the wife of Benny, played by Austin Butler, coming off of his Best Actor nomination for Elvis earlier this year. Most of the material is based on the interviews with Kathy. First of all, I just love how well Jodie Comer and Tom Hardy as British people affect Midwestern accents. It's surprisingly good. There's this romanticism in the simple act of drinking a beer or you know, having a pig roast barbecue and like everything like that. Like, my stepfather was in a motorcycle club for a long time, and I got exposed to that culture when I was a teenager a little bit. Once you get over the black lung from all the people smoking around you, there was a lot of fun to be had, and there were these weird traditions, unwritten rules, and hierarchies. You know, when you could wear your colors, when you couldn't, whose territory was whose. Like, it always seemed like it was just dangling on the edge of like right on the precipice of something more sinister than it ever was. But there was also something fascinating about it, and I think Jeff Nichols, who directed this, I think he captures that quite well. The sad part, like I said, literally on the Friday night that this, you know, screened at AFI Fest, the studio pulled it off the schedule because of the SAG-AFTRA strike that had still not been resolved. And it always bugs me because they themselves, like the studio, had advertised this film for more than a month. You know, I had seen the trailers in the theaters because I was getting excited for it. And then they decide, well, be excited, but you know how art works. You can't see it unless we can stick Tom Hardy on Colbert to plug it for 2.5 minutes. It's like, whatever. But, you know, the whole point of award season baiting is that you're using the awards to drive your marketing, not the actors themselves. But I don't make these decisions. It's clearly above my pay grade. But hopefully the strike gets resolved and it gets either put back on the schedule for December like it was originally planned, or not buried in the studio dumping ground of January and February next year. Like, because again, it's not the greatest thing that's ever, you know, been made, but there's just something to be said for a good, solid popcorn movie that comes out in the fall. Like, we see so many of them in the summer, but this is cinematic comfort food, and it's really well done in that respect. Like, you have a really good supporting cast with like Michael Shannon and a few others. Like, I just sat there for 2 hours completely just turning my brain off and enjoying myself. And especially when you're doing so many films over the course of 5 days, you need that palate cleanser sometimes. You know, that Friday, I had only watched The Bikeriders and one other film called Occupied City, which was a 4-hour documentary. It was great. It was really well done, don't get me wrong. But after 4 hours, I needed to flush out my brain, and The Bikeriders was perfect for that.